So, who are these people? Well, this is me on the left, the good-looking one, clearly. Next to me, we've got David Walker. David, who has this lovely official title of Head of Emerging Technologies. That's not what we really call him internally, but never mind. I won't tell you what we do really call him. David is, in his background, he's a web developer, has been for a long, long time. I'll talk more about that in a second. But David's job really is to make sure that we as a business stay ahead of the game. You know, we have to be at the forefront of things for you. You know, we have to be ahead of everybody really in terms of knowing what's coming, how to help you understand those things. That's David's job. Next to him, we've got Phil Sturpey. Phil is someone I've known for a very long time. Phil's our head of Agile software development. Agile is a thing, isn't it? Phil looks after Agile from an IT perspective. Agile spans across QA. It's part of our project management portfolio. It's part of lots of different parts of the business. But Phil's responsible for the IT implementation of Agile ideas and Agile training. Phil's a Scrum Master. Knows all sorts of good things about that. So a professional Scrum Master, I should say. So he's been immersed in agility for quite a long time. I'll tell you more about him in a second. Last but not least, we have Kat, we have Katrina. Katrina has a strange title, amongst other things, rabbits as well. She's Principal Technologist for DevOps. What does that really mean? Well, inside QA we have a series of highly skilled subject matter experts who are Principal Technologists. They are the people who are our go-to people for a particular thing. It could be VMware, it could be Citrix, it could be database and BI. Yeah, well, we only have those people where there is an absolutely crucial need for someone who is a subject matter expert in something that's really important. The fact that we have one of those in DevOps, I think, is a testament to how important we think DevOps is going to be. So it's Kat's job to keep us ahead of the game, you know, when it comes to DevOps. This is what we're going to do, guys. We've started already, but we're going to start off with a 45-minute session that is really around conclusions to what agility has done for us. Agile and DevOps fit so closely together that there's no real way of putting a cigarette paper between them. But Agile is just a start. Lots of you guys will work in organisations where you have Agile teams, and you work in an Agile way. It's only really the start, there's still more to do, and DevOps closes that loop of what agility can do for us. So we'll see what we mean by that and how that's all going to work for you. Lots of time to ask questions in between and whilst. Then we're going to have a session with David that looks at changes that are going to happen in your organisations around culture, new ways of working, removing of blockages, doing things differently inside your organisations. Can't do DevOps without changing. That's absolutely true. And DevOps is more than just a series of technologies. It's also changes to the way you work and think, as well as bolting on some tools that will help you do funky new things. So this morning is very much about philosophy and culture. This afternoon is much more about, let's see what you can do. Let's get techie. Let's do some techie things. Yeah, let's start doing some containerization with Kat using Docker as a tool. Let's look at what containerization is going to do for us as the next stage of virtualization, if you like. And then we'll do some even more funky stuff. It's probably not even more funky. It's just different stuff. Yeah, we'll do some configuration management using Puppet and Chef, perhaps two of the most popular tools out there for that activity. Lots of time during all of that for you to talk to each other, for you to talk to us, for us to talk to you. We really want to find out what your take is on DevOps. We want to know why you're here. We want to know what you're going to be doing. We want to know how we can carry on building our curriculum to help you, make it relevant for you. It's not about us telling you what you need to know. We need to know what you need to know so that we can help you understand it. A little bit more about us. This won't take long, especially for me. I've been around for quite a long time, 25 years in IT and education. My real background is software development, application lifecycle management, software development lifecycle, that type of thing. I'm I'm still not sure about that spelling, Dave. Yes, at the weekends I wear lycra. Yes, I spend a lot of time peddling. I think that means selling things rather than peddling. So I'm not sure that I should put that up there, or you should have that up there. Let's take that off the video. But anyway, no, I'm not even going to say that. We can edit this, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that's me. Dave, as I say, absolute guru when it comes to web. Dave's been messing around with the web for 20 years. Dave's one of those rare people who can do the whole full stack of web. He can do UX, he can do front end, he can do middle tier, he can do back end, he can do all of that stuff. Yeah, very, very talented guy. I have an awful lot of time for him. He dislikes silos. Talk about that more. He makes fantastic beer. And apart from not knowing the ending of last week's Doctor Who, knows everything else about Doctor Who.
You mustn't say.
You must say.
You must not.
I will leave.
No spoilers.
He dies.
Oh, no, not again. Not for the 9th time, is it? I don't know. Okay, here's Kat. Kat's a clever person. Look, she's got one of those clever things. It's a footer. A footer,
Okay.
yeah. I've only known Kat for maybe a year or so, but Kat's known Dave for a long time. Incestuous, nepotistic relationship we have going on here. Kat is actually, although she's DevOps at the moment, next year she's going to become even more important to QA, because our next big thing is going to be machine learning, it's going to be AI, it's going to be smart machines, it's going to be all of those things. Kat knows all about those things too. She also has rabbits. She'll talk more about that later. If anyone's got any prunes and pots, we could do something with that. She also likes LARPing. I'll let you Google that. See the people who know what that is? Yes,
Maybe test schools.
they're mainly testers, yeah, they're mainly testers, those people.
I think I just spotted 3 LARPers in the room.
Yeah.
Or wannabes at least.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going next year.
Yep.
Kat's got me a chainmail suit, a double-handed axe. I'm not. And there's Phil. I've known Phil for 15 years, about that long anyway. Phil's done all sorts of clever stuff. Phil and I have been all over the world together, unfortunately. We've got numerous t-shirts.
An anecdote.
And anecdotes, some of which I'm sure Phil will share with you later. Phil is an interesting guy in as much as he can basically ask you to do anything. And he turns his hand to it and becomes fantastically adept at it. He's kind of become the go-to guy when it comes to chef and puppet. Which is good, because as an organisation, we are chef's partner in the UK. We're the only one. You want some training on chef? Come to QA. We're hopefully going to do a similar thing with puppet. So we are the go-to people, if you like, when it comes to those products, and that's down to Phil. Phil also wears lycra.
Only at the weekend.
Only in the weekends, where I do it all the time. He also does welding. He has a flail mower, lives on a farm, and does all sorts of clever things with horses, like being airlifted out.
Yeah, I'll get thrown off them.
Yeah, in the air ambulance. So that's us, guys. Please feel free to ask us questions. You can ask us questions there as well. That's one of those hashtag things, isn't it? You can do that. We also have, look at this, we have a Kanban board. Yeah, we have a Kanban board for you so that you can post your questions to us. Yeah, we can move them from to do to in progress to done. Yeah, hopefully we'll get them done today. If we don't get them all done today, then we'll get them done in blog posts, or we'll email you or tell you stuff. Yeah, we will answer your questions. But please feel free to use the Kanban board as we go along. Toilets, very important, are back by reception. Fire exits, possibly more important than toilets, depending on the state of play, are out of the door and either turn right or left, having checked carefully for the inferno, and head down towards the lifts. Yeah, obviously don't use the lifts. Yeah. Have I missed anything out in terms of logistics?
Yeah, and travel down 8 floors.
You do have to travel down 8 floors.
Yeah, yeah.
You do. To be there. Have I missed anything? I don't think so. Okay, we're good to go?
We are.
Yeah.
I'll hand over to Mr. Walker. He's our starting point. You'll find that we all do bits during the day, just to break it up so you don't have to listen to me all morning. Okay? Look at the slides now.
Oh, we're organised now. It's all good.
Grade 3.
So, good morning. Welcome to
to the third of our fourth days. Quite excited about Manchester. This is our third day. This sold out in about 10 minutes. We felt like rock stars. We're going to put an extra show on tomorrow. Sold out. That tells me this is a good place to be, and that tells me that we're actually thinking about what DevOps is, where it fits in. And I'm really interested to talk to you, as we all are. If you haven't got one, there's name badges. We'll stick around a little bit later on, so I don't have to point to you and say, oi, you, as a way of talking to you. But we are really interested in hearing your stories and feeding back in, because I'll talk about here and more in the culture later on, but actually the feedback, the communication loop, and actually sharing ideas is one of the most important things about what DevOps is. So we thought, while I put together this roadshow that we're on, and we thought that what we really needed to do was start defining what DevOps is, where it is, what precursors you need, and how it fits together. We've seen a lot of people already, I don't know if anyone's here, stick your hand up in a minute if you are, that are what they start referring to as digital companies. Their product is their software. That is what they do. And even if that's not what you're doing, if it's just a supporting structure, we're moving to an environment now where the idea of having a update 3 to 6 months is just not going to cut it anymore. Software will never be done. Software will always be changing. Whether that's an improvement in features, a new way of working, a security problem that we actually need to think about, it's always going to be working. And really what the DevOps movement comes from, and it's a philosophy really, it's not a rule book. The DevOps philosophy comes from this idea that we need to continually move, continually change, continually improve, because if we're not doing, if we're not agile and flexible, there are people out there who are. Startup hubs and startup type economies are able to move in a very different way to traditional mature organizations. And they're the ones that we need to think about as our real competitors. And DevOps sort of tries to think about how we stop this. It's based from Agile, and really when it comes to Agile, I'm part of my colleague Phil.
So one of the underlying themes was DevOps picking up where Agile left off, or finishing off what Agile started. If I can just pick out a couple of these points. The first one's important from an Agile perspective. Individuals' interactions over processes and tools. This afternoon, Kat will be doing her thing on containerization and Docker, and it will be great. It'll be fun, it'll be a demo, it'll be great. Then I'll follow on and I'll do configuration management, and I'll be talking about Chef, I'll talk about Puppet, I'll do some demos, they'll work. That'll be great too. And if that's what you come to a conference like this for, then that's going to be great. But for me, the main value is going to be this morning. I do want you to come back this afternoon for the demos, or I'll be pretty lonely. But the key value for me is going to be the next session, the one before lunch, which is about the culture of DevOps, because that's going to be the big thing. Because there will always be tools, and there'll always be another tool. And there'll be tools to help you with configuration management. There'll be tools that help you automate. There'll be tools for virtualization. There'll be tools for building. There will always be another tool. And we will always be there. We'll figure out the tools. We'll demonstrate the tools. But the culture's got to be right within the company. And so Agile did work with culture, and DevOps works within that kind of culture. Another thing I'll pick out on here is customer collaboration, which is another big thing as far as Agile is concerned. And Dave shortly, well, I don't want to throw in any spoilers or anything, but one of the things that Dave is going to talk about will be silos. I think he hates. And something we've discovered on our journey, working in an Agile way within the company, and pushing out DevOps to not necessarily an unwilling company, QA, but an unaware company, was that we had to start collaborating, not with customers, but with our colleagues. There were various teams or departments or practices within QA that certainly I needed to start reaching out to and dealing with in order to get stuff done, which at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for. I've been getting stuff done since 1963. That's going on the stone. So, customer collaboration, colleague collaboration. So, for me, very much the value and the power from today will be the culture. Do stick around after the buffet for the demos, because they'll be good too. Okay.
Well, can't say, yeah, Phil's completely right there. Even if you're not a technical person, even if that's not who you are, that's again from the behaviours we need to start changing organisations. We have to at least get the bullet points and why your teams are saying, hey, we really need to think about containerisation. You go, what's that about? We need to know that, we need to think about it. So, how many people are working in Agile organisations at the moment? agile teams. Whoa, that's the best we've seen. Well done, Manchester. That's about half of you, okay? Those of you who stuck your hand up saying you're working in an agile environment, are you agile end-to-end, or are you a software or an operations team sitting somewhere in a waterfall cycle? If you're agile end-to-end, get your hands up and whoop, because you are the future. So about half of the room put up there for agile, but about 3 or 4 of you said you're agile end-to-end. And that's really where DevOps tries to think about it. It's a technological movement. It starts with the idea that using technology, we can make things better, we can change more effectively, and can adapt to what our customers and what our organizations want. Now, again, feeling horribly old, when I first wrote my first line of HTML, that was back in 1994. Images on the web, so web, no, that was crazy, man, we didn't have enough bandwidth for that. We just introduced the form tags. The web was fundamentally a static way of sharing information, or going on blogs and arguing with people about Doctor Who. But that's what the web was. And I've been married for 8 years, but I will say that my wife, my first love is the web, because I've been with the web longer than I've been with you, because it's been how...
But that goes well.
Good luck with that, Dave.
She still loves me, don't worry. But it is an important part of my journey, and I think of it as this environment on a spectrum of where we sit. When I started off, we were full stack developers because we were the guys who were doing the web, and building the servers and the rest of it. As systems became more complicated, we built teams who were responsible for managing parts of this facet. And possibly that was the mistake we made in the enterprise lifecycle era, which I think we're now moving away from in the cloud-based environment. That you have a dev team, and that dev team is subdivided into your DBA, your front ends, your back ends, and you have your operations team. Your operations team is responsible for getting the code in production, managing change, and they have different needs. I am change driven, I'm a developer. If I'm doing the same thing I was doing 6 months ago, I'm bored. It's a better way of doing it, I want to improve, I want to change. Whilst an operations person often needs stability. They get measured, they need to handle uptime, they need to handle stability, they need to know when that piece of production code goes out, it's not damaging the brand, it's not damaging the customer need, whether that's internal or external. So there's an issue. But it's not just about these two roles. It starts with these two roles very often, but equally when you think about things like the BA, the tester, the project manager, the UX expert, the overall stakeholders and business leaders need to be part of this end-to-end transition. Who counts themselves as a dev in the room? Operational? Yeah. Testing? Yeah. Co-testers? Yeah. BAs? PMs? Any role that I haven't mentioned that anyone wants to throw into the mix? Silos. Hate them. Silos are where there's a demarcation of responsibility based upon a team and a misunderstanding of what the role is supposed to do. Someone will ask me later on, guarantee, how does DevOps work with Agile? We'll get to that later. And that's the sort of environment you have, where you have these silos and walls of confusion. Devs, who said this? Who's responsible? Who has access to get their code onto production? Who can go, yeah, I can get on the production server, I'm good, my code is alright, yeah. Even though people have said they're agile end-to-end, they're not allowed to go anywhere near that production server, man. Not for the likes of you, Debbie. Keep away from it. Operations people don't want this anywhere near it. So we have this. It's called chucking over the wall. Here's my code. I'm done. Down the pub. Finished. Cheerio. Ops person go, what do you mean, done? What's that? Where's that library? Why are you using jQuery? What's this node package module? You're going to do security check. What do you mean you're on the next project? The ops guy gets to solve the problem. Here's some of you laughing because you know that you've had that story. We're terrible. We are terrible because when, in a lot of responsibilities in companies, when we have finished our code, our end is when I've given it to the ops team. And that's ludicrous, fundamentally, if you think about it. Because actually, that means the ops person is going to give them a technology stack that they might not be familiar with, they don't know why we've done changes, they don't know some of the risks involved. But we need to push out that change, and it's the most important thing. Equally, devs. Have you been in the scenario where those ops guys have had your code for 2 weeks and they still haven't put it live? Yeah? What are you doing, ops guys? Come on. I've written 2 new updates since then. Get on with it. And that's the problem, because they don't get it. You up, guys? You know, we're like competing games with different needs and aims, because for me, change matters. If a customer is using a new, or sorry, a competitor is using a piece of technology, there's a bug we've solved, there's a better way of doing something, and want it live. Well, the ops guys go, well, we've got to do change testing, we've got to do acceptance testing, we've got to do integration testing. If they're part of the testing. Again, how many people have got testing teams that are a bolt-on at the end of the actual problem? Because the tester needs to be running with you. So, today, if you've ever thought bad things about a tester or a dev or an op, find one of them, give them a hug, in a group collaborative way, because that's the start of actually making the DevOps change within your business. Break down the silos and start communication. We are the DevOps team within QA. Not all of it, we've got cloud people, we've got ops people who actually work with us, we've got our own business operations people. And when we sort of, about 18 months, 2 years ago, started our journey into the DevOps way of doing things, read some books, we read some white papers, this is going to be important. We had to change how we work, we had to change how we collaborate, and then we had to change the business. DevOps sometimes starts from top down. It is, someone says, right, we need to do this better, we want to create a digital way of doing things, we're going to put you in a sandbox, we're going to have a huge organisational change. Sometimes it starts from the bottom. I won't tell you what Adrian calls me in terms of my job title. I call myself Head of Internal Disruption. That's my job within the organisation. Disruptors, that's a term that's used very often. I have to keep my eye on the horizon for the thing that's going to come along and either damage QA or damage our customers, because we haven't anticipated that change. So change is now inevitable. There's no way around that, but my job is to disrupt gracefully, in a polite way, rather than just kicking people's ankles out. Most of them do. But we have this scenario that change is important, and I have to change the way we communicate. I have to go to talk to people who normally wouldn't want to talk to us, the IT infrastructure. They call us lunatics. What are you doing that for? Why are you doing that? This has worked for the last 20 years. What's this Linux thing? Why do you need a Mac? Those are conversations we've had over the last 2 years, and we've had to change QA quite dramatically. It's about velocity. Agility, velocity.
You're after another word ability on here.
Yeah. But it's the velocity that is actually really important here, because change happens. Customers, whether they're internal or external, are not going to wait 6 months for you to put out a new version of a piece of software. They will move on. They will use something that is better. They will do another product. And even if digital, and you're not a digital company, the IT infrastructure beneath you is what needs to actually happen. Security vulnerabilities happen on a moment-by-moment basis. How are you patching that? How are you doing that? How are we solving those issues? We do that with tools. As I said, for me, DevOps starts with the culture. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. It starts with the culture. It starts with collaboration. The tools make it happen. Because tools mean we can do things very fast. Kat will show you a demonstration later on today where she puts a virtualized version, bare metal, of a Linux container up in about 8 seconds. Phil will build out an entire classroom with SQL Server installs, Visual Studio installs, in 15 minutes. Entire classroom in the cloud. For us, that is going to change the way we do business. It's going to change how quickly we can solve problems. Nothing worse for us than on a Monday morning you come in and the machine's down and we've got a full classroom. My God, what are we going to do? Give that person a coffee, apologise, because that machine won't be ready till break time. But now, we can change that in minutes. Now I can test my code. Now I can be sure that what I'm doing is right. Now I can get it into production in minutes. And that's what the tooling side, working with DevOps, changes. We have knowledge experts, we have people who don't need to be wasting their time on donkey work, they need to be doing the kind of things. And that's what DevOps is for me. But we're often asked how to define things, and I'll pass you over to our principal technology.
Okay, so DevOps within QA, completely new area. We kind of have sat there for a while going, well, my favourite question, why? Why are we doing it this way? Why are we not doing it that way? Why do we have to jump through these hoops? What's this adding to us? And a lot of sort of the DevOps view from QA is how can we get this to be a normal question for you guys? We shouldn't be afraid of change. Change should be good. Change should be nice and easy, nice and relaxed. We just go, oh, there's a new thing, it's really shiny. You know what, we'll go use that, we'll put it in, we'll push it through to line. It should be that easy. We shouldn't have this breakdown in the company of, oh, we need to get signed off for this bit, we need to make sure we do that bit. What do you mean it's 6 months later and we've still not shipped anything? This is not any good. So we've got here, so DevOps is a practice of operations and development engineers working together, but really, it's everyone. I don't want a situation in which I have to come back to you in 6 months and go, right, so we've got BA DevOps, in which point we've got the BA, who's gone off, got all of the client requirements, then they hand you a Word document, bullet point by bullet point, they go, okay, so we've now got to do BA DevOps testing, and QA, all of it in together, or we can just have this movement from the beginning. So you do really need to have a look at your entire workflow, and it's scary. I know change is scary. I know we've got a lot of people, who's here from big enterprise companies? If you wandered in and went, okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to absolutely change everything, and everyone's coming to a meeting, we're going to stand up around a board, we're going to talk about things, yes, even you, Mr. Great Big Huge Chief Exec Officer, you're going to come in as well, and also the person on reception. Would that work? Would they do it? Would they even look at your email, most of them, before throwing it away? I mean, the person on reception would come along going, I've got no what. But everyone needs to be involved in this. So, where we've got this concept of finishing what Agile started, it isn't just about Agile software development. We know Agile works for software development. We know that it's a good thing to do that. So why do we not invite the ops guys to our stand-up meetings? Get them to have a backlog. Get them to show us what's going on. Because change isn't scary when you know it's coming. Alright, so you guys want to use Nginx instead of Apache. Well, that's fine. You told me at the beginning of the cycle, not just dropped it in my lap 4 PM on a Friday and go, right, this needs to go for the weekend. No, I've planned. I know what's going on. Because I've always been very much on the ops side of things. So I've always been the person sat there going, really? Where did this come from all of a sudden? What do you mean I need version 3.2 of something no one's ever heard of? So it's pulling in that idea. And the same. We've got the BA involved. Right, now we've got someone we can ask the questions. They've given us a bit of paper. Right, they can help with the testing. So it really is this group collaboration. It's finishing off Agile and bringing it to your entire company. So we'll talk more about that later.
So, for us, DevOps is a new role. It's a completely new way of thinking about things. In some organizations we work with, it is a new role. You have a DevOps person. And that DevOps person sometimes works as an evangelist to start changing the behavior quietly and simply within teams to help them see the benefits of the velocity of change, reducing waste. In other teams we work with, it's a significant bank we're working with at the moment, and they've removed the separate devs and operations team, and they're moving them into the new IT development team, and that is going to be everyone. So the ownership and the leadership side of it is going to change quite dramatically in terms of where we are. It's, as I say, it's a philosophy, it's a movement. There are lots of different ways of working with it, and with your own organizations and cultures, you take the building blocks and you figure out how that works. And if you've got any great lessons to share with us, we'd really like to hear them. The agility, as Kat said, should be not just about the technical team, because you've still got someone top down, pushing and not understanding what you're building. They're not engaged in the solution. They become a blocker in the solution. So what does it mean for us in terms of where we are? The developer needs to be partially responsible for the infrastructure. We're not saying we should try and do everything, but we are saying that actually it's not good enough to be just in one little box anymore. For me as a developer, I sit closer to the dev side. Kat says, she sits close to the ops side. I think about things like continual delivery, continuous integration. I want to press the button and I want my code to go live. And I want to do that in a way that the BA, the tester, the ops guy is happy with. They know that the chaotic way a dev person works is sandboxed and shackled in such a way that what we're doing is stable and maintainable. So testers need to be involved right at the beginning. Ops people need to be involved right at the beginning, so we understand what it is we're trying to do. I care about how the code is running afterwards. Anyone have that conversation? The blame game, when you get in there and you say, right, there's a problem on the system. Because your code's rubbish. Because your system's not fast enough. Well, it shouldn't have got out of testing. That is probably a conversation we've all had at some point when something goes wrong, and that isn't right. That's not what I want when something goes wrong if I'm your customer is I want it fixed. Something goes wrong with a product that I'm supporting with the customer on, we want it fixed. What I want to know is how do we fix it now, not who caused the problem. The problem's already there, get it fixed. So we need to use the tools and the culture change to share that. For the ops person,
The ops side, I care about my servers. I've got some lovely little servers. They sit there, they stay up, 99.9% uptime, that's what I need to get. I don't want this thing coming in and interacting with it and breaking it potentially. I especially don't want it happening at 4 PM on a Friday. I have no idea who thought that one was a good idea. But from the ops perspective for DevOps, what we get is this whole set of automation. So we've got this idea of virtualizing our servers. I don't want to deal with 20 big boxes sat in my basement anymore. I want to deal with one really big box and shove as many machines on there as I want. You want a new server? Brilliant, spin me one up. Not a problem. There reaches a point where I've still got one big box in my basement, now I need a second one. Okay, I've got 10,000 requests coming in a second. Oh, now I've got 20,000, let's have another box. All right, then let's move this out of my basement. Let's move it into some big server farm. I've now got electricity bill, I've got physical security to worry about. What happens if the electric just cuts out? What are we going to do? So the next step after this was, well, rather than me looking after that building, let's move into the cloud. Let's let that be someone else's problem. When I say I want one server, I've got one server. When I say I want 10,000 servers, I've got 10,000 servers. I just have to worry about actually spinning them up and hooking them into my system, and someone else pays the bill, right? 10,000?
No problem.
This afternoon? No problem. I don't know if any of you are sort of Game of Thrones fans?
Yeah.
Season 4, Game of Thrones, premiere, came out, HBO, went online. Did it work? The entire system fell down. Everything went wrong because they had too many requests coming in. And with things like cloud computing, what we should have in there is something that's highly available. So one system goes down, brilliant, we'll bring up another one in seconds. We've got 10,000 requests, okay, I want to automate my system, bring it up to 10,000 machines when the premiere goes live, and then slowly cut down as people have finished watching. I want to be able to have that flexibility in my network. And a lot of the stuff, the automation tools we've got in there, because we're writing code. Who's heard infrastructure as code? I don't want to sit there anymore at a command line prompt and go, right, go off and install Java. Now go get this bit of information. Now go get this from Git. Because I'm a human, and humans are rubbish. Humans are absolutely unreliable and really quite rubbish. And we had scripts before, so it's just taking this idea to a new level. So I want a new server. I go off to my cloud, I say, give me a new server, it does. I then go, here's your script, off you go build yourself. So now, instead of, oh, we need a new server, all right, I'm going to pop down to the basement, I'm going to build a new one, hook it in, install all the stuff, half a day maybe. It takes less than 15 minutes. Well, yours does take 15 minutes. Docker, you can cut down the time even more. We have this argument, which one's better? And we've got something testable. It's worked once. It'll work 10,000 times, I don't care. I've tested it, because I've got it all as code, I'm version controlling it. We added in a new patch, it didn't work, it brought the system back, right, we're rolling back to version 1.0 actually, we're not doing version 1.1 anymore, because that didn't seem to work. So we've got this idea of stuff that can be tested, stuff that can be maintained. Everyone's happy, everyone's a winner, we all get to watch Game of Thrones.
yeah, it's what Kat's talking about there is stability, reliability, repeatability, and really for me, thinking from the dev end of things, one of the things that one of my best stories that I've heard from someone was, well, we were going to put it on this like huge Windows server, and all we had was the 32-bit version of Windows 7, and we were moving it onto a data center R2 Windows server, which was 64-bit, and things didn't work as expected. I think I get you with that. You gave me the tools that were a 32-bit version of an OS, completely different OS we were on. There were some things which just didn't work with that, and I had no way of knowing that. So why doesn't a dev work with the ops to get a version of the production system? There's a bug. Why don't we spin up something that is a copy of the production system that the dev can actually work on to fix the bug? You know, devs are about change, they're about the unknown, they're about things that we haven't got an answer to right now, and we want to create a way of producing an answer, and ops is about making that stable and repeatable. So once we've done it once, we don't need to go from scratch again. So, for me, everything that DevOps wants to do is great. Any ops people in the room that wouldn't want the dev to test their code, monitor and come back?
Take that away from you.
They wouldn't want to test their code and wouldn't want to check that. Devs that clean up after themselves, that are finally house-trained, that's exactly what we actually want in production. So whether it's a specific role, whether it's a complete change of ownership within an organisation or some hybridisation of the two, one team, one goal, one vision, one product. And that's not just about the technical team, as Kat alluded to, it's about the PM, BA, it's a tester, it's a product owner, being there and actually deserving value and dependability to the organisation. And we're seeing organisations now that are really making it happen. I'll talk more about that in the culture section. So DevOps, as I say, it's either, these are just 3 of the roles, I can have another half a dozen of these, creating a lovely big Venn diagram, but at least your operations development and testing team feed in to the DevOps functionality. That's a good place to start, if you're not anywhere else. If you need to have a conversation about how to define what DevOps really is, we try to break it down to sensible structures here, and this is something called CALM framework. So you can actually see t-shirts and mugs with keep calm and do DevOps on them. We add an S on the end because we think that is actually very important. We are calms people. We are calms people in terms of what we do. It's culture, automation, lean, measurement, and sharing. Okay? It's amazing what you can do to accomplish. You don't care who gets the credit. That's the important thing I'll say about culture. Okay? As I said, it's our product. It's our entire thing. This roadshow, Monday when we're in London, most of the women were there to hear about the culture. They wanted to know about how we're going to change it, how we're going to make things more agile. Fantastic. I got packed off the back of my team. It was a great day. Yes, there in Glasgow, there's a lot more operational people there. We wanted to have containerization and automation. So they was there. So I packed them on the back. It didn't matter to me who was great there. It mattered to me that everyone went away with something that was positive. And I think it's there, not just you care who gets the credit. That's the great time. I don't care who made it fail. I don't care where the blame came from. Because the sharing of the blame is as important as the sharing of the credit. How many organisations are in sort of teams where failure is a terrible thing to happen? To fail is not a good thing. I'll talk more about that later on. Failure, we need to reclaim. It's one of the most important things we have to change in the culture. So the collaboration, the sharing, the mutual respect, the understanding of the roles, that's what we need to do first. My sales team are sick of the sight of me saying, culture first, tools second. And that's how DevOps works. Otherwise, we've just got a set of tools that allow us to fail in a faster way and not improve. Information.
26 years an IT consultant, and Kat gives me this slide to talk to. I get a meme. We have a whole department that do digital publishing, and I get a meme. That's who. Credit to DIY LOL. Automation. You talk to people in IT, and you say automation. Duh. Because that's what we've been doing. I've been a developer for 26 years. I was automating from day one. My story never shared, a bit embarrassed, but I'll go with it anyway, into development. When I first met a computer, well, met a man with a computer as it happens, I was playing a game called Traveller. I don't run around in a field with a rubber sword, but I did play a game called Traveller. And I got a smile, kind of a knowing look from the back. I think we were talking about Traveller. I'll check with him later on. The thing with Traveller, to design a spaceship, you did your rules books and you got your graph paper out. It took me 3 days, not to draw the spaceship, that was easy, doodle it on the back of a fag packet, but you've got to work out all the stats and how many squares can you get for 1,000 tons of hull. It was great. The first program I ever wrote was a whole tonnage calculator. It asked you a few questions, and it was like input, how many tons? 1,000. Input, how many hard points? I won't go too further with this. But the bottom line was, I could answer 5 questions, hit enter, bush, out it came, all the stats, a couple of minutes, job done. And that was me done. That was the mid-80s, we just had Live Aid, and I was a programmer. And that was my future set. Dave's later on going to talk about lean. And the big thing about lean is waste. I hate waste. If you had to say what was the one thing you hated more than anything else, it's probably waste. But wasted effort more than anything else. I do not like to have to figure out the solution to a problem twice. I'm part of this DevOps journey. Back in the beginning, I was a developer and I just wrote code and that was good and I lobbed it over the wall, someone else dealt with it and they used to come back and give me grief. But then I had to start learning about PowerShell and I had to start getting involved in Windows and don't even get me started on Linux. And I'd had this day, 2 days of pain I'd gone through, but because I made sure that whatever it was I had to figure out, and I figured out the code for it, went straight into a script, because I then had documentation as code. So not only, if I ever had to do that again, I wouldn't have to dig out some kind of diary, or some kind of post-it note that I've got some kind of cryptic thing I don't even understand a day later. I had a thing that worked yesterday, it should work today. I may not fully understand it, but I hit the button and the thing works. And that, for me, is what I want. I don't know if you've ever been to Staples. There aren't so many of them about. But the best impulse buy that you can get, you go to DeWitt Smith and say, would you like a kilo of chocolate with your newspaper? But you went to Staples and they had that red button. Do you remember the red button? That was easy. That's what I want. Anything I get involved in, as soon as I figured out how it does, I've got to get it scripted, I've got to get it templated, so that if I have to do this again in a week, because I'll have forgotten it tomorrow, doesn't matter, I've got a red button, that's the button that spins up a machine. That's the button that does my automated tests. That's the button that does the full continuous integration and delivery pipeline. That's what I want. So automation for me is solving those problems. Yes, it means that everything's predictable. Reproducibility. You wanted a word with ability on there. Reproducibility, stability, scalability. If I could hit a button and knock out a server in the cloud, fully kitted out, I could hit that button 15 times and knock out 15. I might come back and refactor and put a little box next to that and put the number 15 in and hit the button and it does it in one go. But that's the key to everything. One of the reasons testing, I believe, one of the reasons that testing is at the back end and it happens after months is because it's a bit fiddly, it's a bit awkward. So, as someone at some point must have said, why do today what you can put off until next month? We'll get to that because it's going to ruin my day. But if Amazon.com, push out code every 19 seconds. I just stole a slide. That's okay, because look what they gave me to work with. So when you see the slide that says Amazon, 19 seconds, that's my slide. This is Kat's slide. Every 19 seconds, and that is code, button, test, build, package, deploy, live. 19 seconds. Can you imagine? Fantastic. And they can only do that because they automate. So they've taken the fear and the concern out of testing, building, packaging. That was done, it's fully automated. Everything's automated, everything's tested. You can test the tests. Imagine that. And you can test the builds. And you can only do that with automation. And part of that will feed into the configuration management bit. I'll do later. Back to you, Doug.
So, Alison, anyone come across Lean, using parts of it? You're using a Kanban board, even if you haven't realized it, you are using the Lean technology point. Lean has been around since the 50s in car manufacturing, Toyota, and Mary and Tom Poppendale took the ideas of Lean and rebuilt it for use in software engineering, and I love Lean. Absolutely love it, because Lean works with Agile, and what DevOps really was about is eliminating the waste, the blockages, the issues that stop us from getting a piece of code out every 90 seconds. Okay? More about that later on, but these are sort of the seven steps for Lean. When I think of this being said in a samurai ninja-like way, but eliminate waste, as Phil said, that is the first thing, the waste. What does the waste come from? Talk about the categories of waste later on. How do I get rid of it? Handovers are one of the biggest waste issues in siloed teams. I'm going to give it to the tester, I'm going to give it to production, I'm waiting for a meeting with the customer, I'm waiting to see the PM. Those are the things we want to get rid of, we want to work in a better, more effective way. build quality in. The reason that Amazon can go out in 19 seconds is because they test everything. When something is brand new, we need to test it to destruction. When it is a modification of normal, and the change effect should be understood, then the quality has been built in all the way through. Because I, as a developer, need to take responsibility for the testing, for part of the security, to ensure that the change management parts of the ITIL manual are followed, but in an efficient and effective way. We don't want to be in a scenario that many people who follow the big ITIL things and have manuals this thick, mostly there to prop the window and the door open in the summer when it's warm, rather than actually documentation of value. And we've probably all been there, where you write a huge amount of information, because that's what it says we've got to do, and that documentation is never used again. Create knowledge. We have got different skills and specialities. I've learned a lot this week, actually, just seeing the demos and the rest of it, because I'm looking at what Cat's done with containerization. The next thing on my agenda is microservices. So if I put the microservice in a container, I can have all of these things just sitting and spinning up, but it won't matter what language we use it like this. So I learned. I'm not a containerization expert, I'm a dev, but I will work with Cat to ensure that that happens correctly. So we share that type of responsibility. By actually having everyone together at the start of the room, so your tester, your BA, your dev person, your ops person are actually sharing, we can get things done fast. This one's sometimes controversial, the third commitment. Last moment of accountability. I'm not saying shrug your shoulders and go, I'm not telling you. I'll tell you when it's actually necessary. When we know that what you want to do, if you say we need to get this done now, then we're going to get it done now. That will change your priority. We're thinking about the Rolls-Royce solution in the future. It's not now. Not when I'm going to spend my time on that. That one will prioritise my tasks. So that can be all sorts of things. Me and Adrian are going to see a customer next week in London, and the salesperson who's going with us was ill, so I haven't got my ticket yet. What was the point of me booking a ticket that might not be necessary? Kat and I are working closely with Microsoft at the moment. We work with Microsoft a lot over the years, and we know what Microsoft are like on product releases. Again, one of our account managers works with Microsoft, we've got to start this now. We went, no, we don't, because we know Microsoft, and what will happen is true. In November, they said, I hope you haven't started any work now, because actually it's all going to change in November. So what we would have done, because we committed too early, was create waste. Deliver fast. If we share and communicate more effectively, I can get that stuff out faster. And we've changed this. Phil, as our Agile guy, changed the way we write courseware for now what we do in the emerging technology and all the rest of that space. Because what Phil did, we traditionally have done 5-day courses in QA. 5-day courses about 45 days worth of labour to write. You are not having 45 consecutive days out of the classroom. He's not going to let me. Okay, so that's not going to happen. I've got to be in a classroom working with customers and doing other things as part of that sort of relationship. So actually, to get a 45-day course out is really probably about 3 to 6 months of work. Okay, that's all right. But that's 6 months of work before that product gets out, and I won't get it to the customer. And there's nothing worse than if you missed the golden moment, if you can't get it out. And now that wasn't really what we wanted from that 5-day course. Got it wrong. So what we now do is we create 1 day of content, which takes about 6 to 10 days. We get it out, we start iterating, we start generating revenue, we start feeding back from our customers who tell us what day 2 should look like. What's the next set of features that are most important to you? These ones, okay, we'll do that. Then we had another day on. And at that point what we're doing is we're making revenue earlier, we're talking to our customers and sharing, collaborating earlier, because we respect people, each other, and the whole. Adrian is our boss, but he's also, very close colleague and friend, because we don't have a very hierarchical structure. We don't have that in QA at all, actually. We're very flat structure with authority, and I will go and knock on our CEO's door and have a chat to him about anything and nothing, because that's the type of organisation we're in. He respects and trusts me to do what I do. The reason we can do what we do is I don't need to be micromanaged. I have taken responsibility for what I'm going to do, because I don't want to let him down, I don't want to let the organisation down. If it goes wrong, then I'll knock on his door and say something's gone wrong, so he doesn't have a nasty surprise at the end of the week. But actually, we share and we collaborate. And if you've got people in your team and you feel you need to micromanage them, ask yourself the question, why? Can you trust them to do great quality and great jobs? again, Adrian and I often discuss the benefits of Git, decentralized, controlled version management, and him loving his top-down centralized version management. It's because he's a dinosaur, and in that centralized version management environment, they go, why would I want to put that there? Why would I want that there, but I've got to be connected to the internet and the rest of it? Because actually, if we're off-center, if we're not on the internet, if Kat's working from Italy, poking away, she doesn't need to actually be connected to the centralized environment. What I know is when Kat comes back online, if she says she's going to do something, it will be done. Respect the people. And that optimizes the whole. Optimize the whole, think about all of this, because actually if we trust our people, if we're already trying to think about a better product, taking waste out, we go back and we create a feedback loop, which Adrian will talk about a little bit more. To get to that feedback loop, we need to understand what we're doing. And that's where Kat will talk about the end.
So monitoring, measurement, metrics, they're all good words. They're not exciting though. This seems to be the forgotten child in a lot of systems, is that, okay, job's done, code's out there, brilliant, everything's fine. Is it working? Is it going to continue working? So monitoring is a key part of the whole comms life cycle, because if you don't know what you've got, then you don't know what you're measuring, you don't know if you're successful, you don't know if something new has broken it, has fixed it, has done absolutely nothing at all, was 3 weeks worth of time that has achieved 1 second speed up, that sort of idea. So I love this quote, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. I never want to be in that situation, ever. I don't want what happened a few years ago now, working for a company, and they went, we've got this test server. Test server's brilliant. No one's used it for 6 months, so pull that down, we're going to reuse it somewhere else. So I'm like, okay, right, go off to my test server, right, delete all the things, check I've got the right one, yep, that name matches that name, hit the big button, server goes down. Brilliant, job's a good one, send it off, phone starts ringing. There may have been a very large city council that may have been storing a lot of their live data on our test server. Our test server that I just decommissioned, that I checked that no one needed any of the data on here, hit the big red button, completely gone. That was a little bit of an expensive mistake. Why was that even able to happen? Why, I've got a server, why wasn't it hooked up to our monitoring system that would have gone, no one has used this for 6 months, why is my CPU load above 50% every day? Why have I got this bunch of requests coming in from the external IP addresses into what's our test server? You've told me that this isn't being used. So monitoring will help you identify that thing. It will stop these things happening. I don't want a situation where I didn't know my test server was that important until we killed it. It's a key part of what you're doing, and certainly when you're doing the project management, that sort of level, how do you know what you're doing right? How do you know that you've got something that's really good in there? The Game of Thrones story, how do I know, without monitoring it, oh God, I've got 10,000 requests coming in per second. How do I know to spin up a new server? And much like the automation, how can I then hook that back in so that I don't need to sit there and press any buttons anymore? Server's needed, comes up. Server's not needed, goes down. But you need this monitoring stuff in there. You need some way of measuring stuff. And I know it's not the fun bit, it's not the let's go off and code it, but it really is key.
Okay. And you know what? All of that would be great. Where's my box gone again?
To the backlog.
All of that stuff would be great. You can change the hell out of your culture and do all of those good things. You can automate everything with your meme or whatever. You can eliminate waste and become lean and all those sorts of things, and you can do all your clever stuff. Yeah, brilliant. All of that's great. And that probably won't make a damn bit of difference until you do this bit. Because this is the bit that supports it all. And that's why we add on the sharing bit, if you like, about DevOps. If you think about what we're trying to do, from defining a business need, managing that need, creating content, creating product, creating services for our internal or our external customers, passing that to design people, to plan it, passing it to the dev team, passing it to test, passing it to ops, that's going to happen. We're going to do that. In the past we've done that, and we haven't really done it very well. We haven't done it that well because we haven't shared, we haven't changed our culture, automated, become lean, started monitoring, and then we haven't shared what we know. We haven't shared amongst everybody what it is the customer's looking for, what it is about how we're going to design the product, what it is about how we're going to build the product, how we're going to test it, how we're going to support it. It's, the lean way of working is the change of, that's all it is, it's just a thing, it's not connected. The sharing of information is the connection, and I love this. Knowledge is experience, everything else is just information. Every day I get lots of information. I'm sick of getting information. I get it all the time, it's just endless information. I don't want information, what I want is context for the information. I need to understand, I need to know, not just see a fact. Knowing that the CPU loads 50%, that's a great thing. Wow. What does that mean? In what context is that important? So I love this. It's about knowing is about experiencing and sharing. That's what it's all important that you do it. Okay.
And the feedback loop is how we improve. Were we monitoring correctly? No. In fact, scenario where they weren't monitoring, so that server was being used, they weren't monitoring correctly, so we need to fix that. That means we change the way we work, so next time we're better. Are we getting the data to the business or the customer so they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it? So they can trust me not to micromanage me because they can see quite clearly what I'm doing. These are the sort of things that actually become the feedback for the entire operation. So you start with S, it's like that Do Re Mi song, brings you back to C. So we go back away through it. And our marketing team, I sort of put this together as a roadshow. So what we're going to call it the DevOps Roadshow. So boring. I wanted to call it Better, Faster, Stronger. Now that might remind you of a Daft Punk song, or it might, if you're a gentleman or a lady of an age of mine, you might remember watching Steve Austin on TV on Saturday mornings in $6 Million Man. And that's Better, Faster, Stronger for me. Better. We want to be better because we have to be. We're in a much more challenging world. Of course you want to be better than what you do. We want to be stronger. We're stronger because we work with teams. We're faster because we get the product out fast. Phil's transformed the way, we had resistance operationally for doing that. To start with, it's not going to work. They say, not going to work. Me and him don't like being told things aren't going to work. We make work, and we prove people wrong. And if not, we change what we did and do it again. Because actually we're able to show that the amount of time that Phil took to rectify their course is exactly the same. But in that gap, we've been talking to customers, making things better, creating value for the business. And that's the sort of life cycle you go through. Not just about particular products, you can use the lean and agile way to transform every facet of what you do. Does anyone have any questions on this from what we've said so far?